afternoon, everybody. As you all know, that we are celebrating the 75th year of independence of India, and as a part of that, we are actually remembering the great researchers in the pre-independence era as a series of lectures. So this, I think, is the 8th installment of that series. And today we are going to hear about Professor Homi Bhabha. And we are very fortunate that we have the most eminent scientist in this field of research, Professor Bikash Sinha, with us. So I request our director, Professor Illustrious, to kindly introduce the speaker.
Thank you, Rajiv. As already mentioned by Professor Mitra, that we are running this series on illustrious scientists in the pre-independence era as a part of the celebration of 75th year of independence of India. The goal of this celebration was the contribution of scientists in freedom struggle. Of course, the scientist contribution comes in many different ways, unlike that of all the freedom fighters. So we thought of arranging this series where we will remember their contribution, and as already mentioned, this is the 8th talk in this series. And in fact, our series started with the talk on Professor Satyendra Bose for obvious reason, because this institute is in the name of Professor Satyendra Bose. Then we had the talks on Acharya P.C. Ray, on J.C. Bose, on many other eminents. But then we were missing Bhabha. Without Bhabha, of course, this series cannot be great. And I was discussing with Dr. Jagtap, who is from BRC, because I thought a person from atomic energy will be doing the right job. And he immediately said that if you can get hold of Professor Bikash Chandra Sinha, that will be the most, suited. And he said, I don't know whether he is keeping fine or whether he will agree to your request. And to my, I was very pleasantly surprised that as soon as I sent the email to him, he immediately accepted. And he said, I will give the talk in person. Majority of the talk these days, people say, okay, I will give the talk online. But he immediately not only accepted, he categorically mentioned that he will give the talk in person. So it's a great pleasure and honor for us that we have with us such an eminent personality to talk about another eminent personality, namely Bhabha. And you all have read his CV, which is given in the poster. So I just don't want to repeat on that. But I want to stress one aspect of him. Other than being a very active scientist, he's a great science communicator. In this time, we really feel there is a big necessity that we make a connection with the common people. Tell them what we are doing, because these are all our science is done with taxpayers' money. So definitely they have a right to know what we are doing. And I find Professor Sinha as one of the exceptional active scientists who regularly writes popular articles. You open Desh, which is one of the Bengali, I'm very fond of this. I think that's the only magazine I still subscribe to and read through. And you will very often find articles from him. Even in Anandabajar Putrika, you will find articles from him. And in fact, very recently we had a discussion about whenever they are in Star Anand or anything, they organize something, they call all intellectuals, but we hardly see any scientist. So probably they don't consider scientists as intellectual. But I very often find also Professor Sinha in that, gathering of the intellectuals. So this is a great practice, and that at least should inspire many of us to be more in the science communication. It is our responsibility to to let all the common people know what we are doing. As a scientist, we have a big responsibility, a societal responsibility. So, apart from many other aspects of Professor Sinha, which of course includes serving in the Prime Minister Advisory Committee, getting the honors like Padma Shri and Padma Bhushan, I think this is one aspect that I have been greatly touched upon. So I do hope today we will hear a very inspiring story from Professor Sinha on Bhabha. If you want, we can put a chair here so that.
Sure. Okay. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to come here after such a long time. I would like to thank those in particular. It seems as if Bruce has opened up again the arms and the doors that how should be. Talking about Homi Bhabha is not easy because he's a man of many, many splendors. A great scientist, theoretical physicist, great artist, you see, great musician, and a tremendous expert in management. All the qualities he had. So the typical idea, I'm afraid, in Bengal, to be a scientist, woolly-headed, smoking, bearded, and not very clean, is not the image that he had. He was what he was. And because of his very splendid personality, he was liked across the country, including at that time Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. It's just not a coincidence. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru liked Homi, and Homi used to call Jawaharlal Nehru Bhai. You might think this is just a luck that he cultivated. Yes, he cultivated, yes, sure. But whatever you cultivate, it doesn't work out all the time. And if you are dreaming of building a great empire, the Department of Atomic Energy, with all its constituent institutions, the Tata Institute, Sahaj, from, you need to have a certain access to the ministry and government. That's the reality after all these years of my life. But I find in my Bengali friends, they think it's a waste of time. Well, let them think what they think, but that's not the reality. So what I'll do is to give you a glimpse of many areas of Bhabha's activity. And it's a lovely picture. Young two brothers, Homi and Jamshed, father and mother. Now you see from that picture, there is hardly any touch of India. At the same time, the great patriots. In fact, the affection, the regard of Homi Bhabha to his parents and love for his mother is quite remarkable to see. This is Homi, a young man. They are brought up in Bombay, and I can't imagine how in Bombay he's wearing overcoat. Must be somewhere else. Probably London or somewhere. His mother was married by Alji Pandey, granddaughter of Sir Jean Chapitit, first baronet. It sounds mouthful, but apparently those who knew her, she was extremely fond of charitable things, loved his country, and loved her dear Homi and Sally. Another picture, younger days, Father Jahangir now looks much more robust. Typical early 20th century picture. Parents and brothers and so on. And before going into details, his mother had a horrible time of getting her Homi from Tata Institute for lunch because he was working late and workload was increasing every day. There, Homi Bhabha writing at the age of 18, 19 from Cambridge, I should read it out for those of young people particularly. I'm burning with the desire to do physics. That's the only thing you should do physics for. If you don't have a desire and burning sensation of doing physics, don't bother. Go to IT, give you a lot more money. Go to TI, whatever that is, give you more money. Physics is a passion. I will and must do it sometime. It is my only ambition. I have no desire to be a successful man or the head of a big firm, which is the desire of most men and women in India now. That my son or my daughter is head of McKinsey or whatever. There are intelligent people who like that, let them do it. Now he's mimicking his father. Interesting letter. I hear you saying, quote, but you are not Socrates, right? No. And that is what values, father central values. He called me a useless musician when he was young. Central values now considered the world's greatest geniuses and France's greatest musician. How can anybody else know at what time what one would do in life? If there is nothing to show, it is no use saying to Beethoven, he must be a scientist, but it's a great thing to do. When he did not care two hoots about something. Or to Socrates, be an engineer is the work of an intelligent man. It's not the nature of things. I therefore earnestly glory to let me do physics. In Cambridge, 1928, when you were just 19. Now, Paul Dirac is one of the greatest theoretical physicists of quantum era in the last century. Bhabha, somewhat younger than Dirac, arrived in Cambridge about the same time. When Dirac was a reigning Lucasian professor of Cambridge, once held by Isaac Newton, and later, up to recently, Stephen Hawking. They both had to do first time something useful, or very useful in life. Dirac had to do electrical engineering, went on to discover Dirac's equation, and Bhabha, mechanical engineering, went on to do physics. So those who go for engineering don't come to physics is not a very simple idea in those days. I don't wish to go into great detail. I mean, this is available everywhere, so my notes. He completed his PhD in 1935 under the guidance of Bhabha, and also Bhabha did his supervisory capacity in the cross Chandra Sinha, the movement of Chandra Sinha, and so on. Bhabha returned to India in 1939, intended to return to Europe and take up a position in a good university. There were war came out. It was almost impossible to go back to Europe. And at that time, at a very early age, he was elected the Fellow of the Royal Society. In those days, election to the Royal Society was done by letters of recommendation, and C.V. Raman sent the recommendation seconded by Dirac. That's nice, isn't it? C.V. Raman is writing, Dirac said. You see, those days and even today, by far and large, there is no racism in physics, or that is science. In a short period, he gathered a team of young scientists around him. The program was built, leading scientists from all parts of the globe, such as Prof, Lackett, Powell, Pauli, Chirac, Niels Bohr, Dr. Stephen Lee, Maria Gelman, Rossi, the cosmic ray physicist, Gamo, Hans Peter, etc. He used to visit TIFR, Colloquium, and TIFR very often. And today you try to invite somebody from abroad, you won't be successful. Although India has much more practice for that. It's the weirdest thing I have seen. We are not inviting them because they're inferior or superior, that's not the point. Interaction with physicists across the world is a must for designers. It's very hot day. It's okay. He initiated the atomic energy program in India very, very early. In fact, the Apsara reactors were the first. Bhabha is well known in physical sciences for the discovery of Bhabha scattering, still used. And of course, he was the first to propose the existence of a heavier cousin of electron, now known as the meson, which is the penetrating component of cosmic ray, and so on. In fact, the name meson, which was originally discovered by Yukawa, as you know, which he got the Nobel Prize, was coined by Bhabha and Price at Kema in a private house at Cambridge. Cascade theory he discovered of the electron, the cosmic ray, which became famous at Bhabha. The major center of cosmic ray research was Tata Institute of Fundamental Science. You see, Homi Bhabha is not a man to be defeated. Just after independence, there was hardly an experimental facility. He had the vision to realize without experimental facility, physical sciences would not survive. There is one example only in the world's history, wearing a double-breasted suit, launching his balloon, Central College grounds, Bangalore. In the late 40s, on cluster of rubber balloons. Nowadays, people usually wear jeans or something, or pant or maybe or better in this part of pajama. This is more convenient. But no, he's always wearing double breasted. You see, Bhabha was trying to do something electron-positron scattering and pump into the idea of exchange effect. That was not easy to understand simply in those days. Because positron was the hole in the negative energy level, and that is called the positron. So it is actually a particle or not. It's difficult at that time. But he proved indirectly that positron can be a particle. Anderson, I think, discovered positron later on. Incorrect interpretation of Dirac's whole theory. Now, that's interesting about Dirac's discovery, even now. There is the hole in the sea is the particle. But here, 1954, almost 18 years after Bhabha's theoretical prediction, this graph says exchange effect is important, and Bhabha's formula proves the point. A solid line. Fine diagram electron scattering without exchange, and this is with exchange. I won't go into physical discussion. It's very easy to understand for anyone who does physics. There is theory behind it. You and she at the spinors for electron and positron respectively. This corresponds with the next process. Feynman diagram of electron positron annihilation. The exchange effect in Moore scattering was easy to interpret as electrons are indistinguishable from each other. However, in case of electron positron scattering, interpretation of exchange effects on the basis of Dirac's whole theory was somewhat ambiguous. Now we know any particle antiparticle pair will contribute to the extra effect irrespective whether they're particle. It's the almost latest diagram of cosmic ray. Cosmic ray diagram has ankle, a knee, and all sorts of things. In fact, Homi Bhabha realized if you don't have a particle laboratory of high energy, well, the cosmos has provided the laboratory. It's a rather romantic way of translating this idea. And he devoted entire time, entire group, particularly Professor Stickerson, who are doing extremely well to do that. Here he says something interesting. The lady friend he had, Mrs. Jessie Mather, trusted friend, quote, I know quite clearly what I want out of life. Life and my emotions are the only things I'm conscious of. I love consciousness of mind, and I want as much of it as I can get. But the span of life is limited. What comes after death, no one knows. Or do I care? Therefore, since I cannot increase the content of life by increasing duration, or increasing it by increasing the intensity, art, music, poetry, everything. Increasing the intensity of my consciousness of life. And that was his passion. And although it's a personal thing, he never got around to get married to anyone. The Lord relative more has something to do with his fastidious Homi Bhabha, not at all to the devil, restlessly creative, enhancing life because he loved all forms of it. It became a living proof that scientific excellence can go with excellence in art. Racial differences need not be a bar of perfection. He stood out as a world citizen, qualified in all three subjects, education, science, and culture. Please remember just writing a few papers, go on dragging a single author, two authors business. It's just a very boring business after a while. Some people do at the age of 85. I had 5 single author papers, a big deal. You're not going to go to heaven with 5 single authors. And this is a kind of self-bragging, which I think is very bad. John Cockcroft, who discovered neutron, human progress has always depended on the achievements of a few individuals of outstanding ability and creativeness. Homi Bhabha is one of them. This is a very interesting picture. Hideki Ikawa, John Archibald Wheeler, Albert Einstein, and Homi Bhabha. Homi Bhabha was trying to attract attention of Einstein and made him laugh, smile. Now the other guys are very impressed. I suspect they're extremely nervous. Einstein around. And what Einstein is carrying in his belly is as good a guess as you can. His pipe. Robert Marshak and Robert Oppenheimer is friends. He was extremely friendly with Robert Oppenheimer as well. And lots of stories. So, this is the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. Look at this galaxies of people. Just follow. But this was possible. Those days you invite people. 5 people had everyone. The Joint Secretary, Minister of External Affairs regrets to say that. And what is this country coming to? At that time, there was no foreign exchange, Without this mixture, without this continuous interaction, it's no good. You can't be in touch just on email. But in Bengal, it's a unique situation. They keep in touch by email from home. They can't be bothered to come to the institute either. I see that in Sahara Institute. My heart breaks. Why should I go to the institute? You can do by email. I asked them, why do you get a job? You can do it anyway. And so on and so forth. No good. You see, interaction is actual interaction, not just one-way interaction. This is an interesting picture of the Copenhagen Niels Bohr Institute. I've had pleasure spending a lot of time there in Copenhagen in the 1970s. Hawaii in the last row, there's one second from the right, and there is one Dr. Chanchal Kumar Muzunga. I figure the dates don't match up. Some other Chanchal Kumar Muzunga who somehow disappeared. His name is Sakat. To start this seminar 15 minutes later, and after the seminar, he was supposed to be a clown and relentless being teased by people with biting questions. It was almost the summertime, but everybody is wearing a three-piece suit. God help. I think it was a great place, and you meet many people in interaction. My time was O'Bohr and Ben Muckelson, but no prize. There was summertime, famous lunchroom of Copenhagen Niels Bohr Institute. That fellow gentleman, Carl Weizsäcker, and Bhabha again in the suit. That's also important. One anecdote I cannot help but to mention to you. Once Niels Bohr was following Lev Landau like mad, went on and on and on. So Lev Landau got tired and got hold of a few tables and stretched out a bit of rest. But Niels Bohr would let go. He put his ears to his eyes, Landau. Landau directly did not say, don't disturb me, Landau. So this is what is called passion. Bhabha was a great painter, not the quality. Patrick in his jacket, very disturbed face. He was a left-wing man, socialism, and knees more contemplative. Rap was his best friend. And they were so friendly with each other. You can see how friendly on the picture. Mona scattering, Bhabha scattering, I just want to bring them. But today, our kids would think it's very simple. And the great thing about physics, today's most difficult problem becomes very simple 10 years time. This is a beautiful picture of proton from cosmic rays hour, cascade. The cascade of electron and proton is another great discovery of Bhabha. In picture. Now, this is the one picture I managed to get hold of Goku Melon. Once there was a copy to that. And Goku Melon, what will happen if the balloon took off with you? He said, out of jump. No, you can't. It goes so fast. He was also a very competent experimentalist. But here this pressure is so much that he had to sort of sit down and manage to be on Earth. They did their own work by their own hands, okay? Something to learn. Bhabha is a painter. This is Sabawala, his friend, classic friend. Homi Bhabha, self-portrait at the age of 17, Cambridge, he joined. Bhabha engaged in a painting. This is Soho Sonori Beni, which means that such a beautiful moment. It's a very moving picture. Angels sponsor a homage to Mozart, our painting. I think also it's a beautiful painting. It's a striking portrait of the lady, Bhabha. Gives the impression of a photograph of thought. You see how he has managed to blend light so well. Large landscape with medium of oil, and so on. Again, Bhabha, love of music. Now, one thing much more, how do you find so much time? A lot of work in theoretical physics, a lot of work in experimental physics, a lot of work in art, painting, a lot of work in going to concerts. Didn't find much time to eat, and that was the only thing. And why? You have to learn something. With all those things in the agenda, he managed to finish it. And one piece of work, we are shattered up, eh? That really bothers me actually somehow. There is only one line. I don't believe there is 2 lines or 3 lines or 4 lines. If you don't use it properly, you are the person who feels bad. These are all. 1 o'clock in the morning, writing to Jamshed Bhabha about the 9th Symphony of Beethoven. It's very moving work. And it's the 9th Symphony, the sheer greatness, the sublimest, most colossal achievement of human mind. Composed with a totally deaf. He repents all he had to say to them, the result of his own life. Then he predicted in Nature 1938 the meson of non-steam. It's a great discovery. The decay of meson helped resolving the enormous absorption of the penetrating component in the atmosphere. Now look, with cosmic rays everywhere. Okay, everywhere. The cosmic ray experimental setup, most institute, not this JCO, the Darjeeling. And one setup there from where GM Bose in Bhabha shows he discovered the so-called mucosa. But such a sad story. He won't allow her to publish. Because I mean, due respect to Sir Bose, he thought the discoveries are special, special things for only Westerners. This sounds spontaneous vision by my friend Shamodar Chatterjee. And again, DM Bose said, don't Makai Fisher. It was absolutely sad. There was a Nobel Prize only a few weeks' time. Anyway. There's another interesting thing when Bhabha compares the fate of civilization from other countries of Persia, Egypt, India, China, etc. You see, Persia and Egypt was very flourishing at that time, excellent science and technology. You make a point there, without science and technology, civilization cannot survive. Please tell your politicians to understand that. We'll be doing the same thing. Do the same thing again and again. So, Puna card, the chakkar, you'll be discovering in many ways. You've discovered something. Very important. Bhabha did not believe in micromanagement. Some people I understand comes to the office, I say how much Dettol has been stolen. Whether the soap cake has been there or not. And that he didn't believe at all. The story goes, it says that somebody was asking for a new person to start a new job on something or the other. So, Devendra said, well, Homi, I've got a man who has very little to do. You're thinking of giving it to him. He turned back and said, don't be stupid. Those who have nothing to do will never do anything. Those who have plenty to do will do something if you find time. That's management for you. But this is a very convoluted statement. If somebody really understands it, you send me a note. No energy is as expensive as having inadequate. I start to understand the meaning. Or maybe Bhabha thought that to make it convoluted, it would be interesting. Then he went out to radio telescope. Parabolic cylindrical radio telescope. Homi Sarup. As the famous GMRT, Giant Medium Radio Telescope. A great success story in India. Homi Bhabha was pulled up, BBC Kantan. So don't you know the polar goldfield has a huge depth of tunnel? And so why don't you do something about finding out neutrino? First atmospheric neutrino event was detected at KGF at a depth of 2.3 kilometers. Srikantan, as a raw graduate student, was asked to go there and go down every day, 2.6 kilometers. Would you like a life like that? Your friends there? Would you? It's too much. They are all very hard. First dedicated put out the case experiment at KGF. It's not very known. This experiment was operational in 1992. Mining operation at KGF stopped because the government of India, stupidly enough, couldn't control the water pouring in, and they would not let go other countries to participate. Beijing was closed down to foreign everybody. They discovered the proton lifetime is more than 10 or 32 years, and proton did not decay, but all the gold did, unfortunately. The greatest tribute to Homi Bhabha is that what he set out to build against all odds has not only survived long after his untimely death, but has thrived and has been thriving again and again. Probably not such a high quality activity, but is thriving. That's the greatest tribute I can give. But not everybody is Homi Bhabha. There is a cyclotron where I work, nobody asked me how it was done. This is how it's done. Dr. Ramana, my mentor, director of physics group, atomic energy establishment, asked in a so-called Atomic Energy Commission meeting that if he has cyclotron, then I'm bending around. Otherwise, we'll miss out on nuclear physics. So the commission agreed, although Bhabha actually is a particle physicist. The Van graph is in Bombay, where I started my life in India, and if he has cyclotron in Calcutta, at a cost of rupees 3.2 crores at that time. He got the money flowing in 1969. The first beam was 77. I think it's a great effort and great attitude and great activity. The young Rajiv Gandhi was slightly senior to me in Cambridge, learning about this business a long time, going with his grandpa, Bhabha, and from me, of course, Panditji gave a lot of attention to what Bhabha is doing. And Panditji described the structure of Silas reactor as awesome. And according to him, these things can't go on forever. You lose interest, you fall asleep in the seat when the air conditioner is working. There's a poem which was loved by Homi Bhabha of Robert Frost, the American poet. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Someone ages and ages hence. Two roads diverge in the wood, and I took the one less traveled path. That has made all the difference. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, they get out from. But I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Homi Bhabha, fortunately, had to go to sleep before he worked. People say he had a premonition. You can read that. কে ফুল না ফুটিতে ঝরেছে ধরানোতে জেনবি মরু পথে হারানো তারা জানিও জানি দাও হয় তারা. All the prayers that couldn't be finished, I know, I haven't lost everything. That flower which could bloom wilted on the ground, the river which lost her way in the desert bed. I know, but I know I haven't lost it. Homi Bhabha, as I started, would be an icon in our life many, many years to come. Ever. Thank you for this opportunity.
Enough for illustrating the life of Bhabha. Can we take a few questions?
Okay.
Questions?
Very nice talk. So just I had a question regarding the involvement of Bhabha in the management of two places. One is TIFR and the other is the PARC or Atomic Energy Commission. And why I ask this question is because today, I mean more than so many years hence, we see that there is a great cultural differences between how these two places run. You would appreciate it, you know, a lot better. So was Bhabha at all involved in the administrative planning or running of park the way?
Interesting question. I'm very glad you asked the question. You see, the point is, Bhabha had the theory that you don't build an institution and then hire a person. You hire a person and build institution around him. But Sarkar bolte hai, vacancy. Vacancy has been filled in. So any town they can hire you do that, and then if you excuse by saying, any Kasra party you can have. I think, frankly, quality has come down. That's the biggest problem. So anybody who is of high quality will also know how to save money. You know, man without quality would spend anything and everything to get his job done without thinking about how to that awful one innovate. He didn't. He thought about it. He hired. He hired him first. There's a major shift in the understanding of how to hire. That I think is the crunch of the matter.
Again, thanks for your very nice talk, because at least I was not aware of the artistic passion of Bhabha. So many nice pictures he has drawn. So, following the question that was asked just now, I mean, he was, of course, we know, a great institution builder. So, why we don't see that quality people around? Is it because the flexibility has reduced, or we don't have people of that caliber, or what is exactly lacking?
Lacking in leadership. Lacking in leadership is the biggest cause. I see all around, not much interest, in terms of taking the board to its law. We have to actually try to stimulate the young people. But we run an office like a government office. It's not a government office. And Indians have a habit of tending towards that. Two people carrying files, signing, and that's it. That's a good job. They don't go around laboratories. They don't talk to people. This is the biggest problem. Bhabha used to go around every laboratory every day almost. When I used to finish his job as a director, no time. I think leadership is the biggest problem. कोई तरह से director तो हो जाए, but that is also changing. Because everybody has a car, everybody has a telephone, so why be director?
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Someone from the online persons who are attending online. There have been some people online also, so we are asking if someone has
There
a
are some
question.
people who are attending
Attending
online.
online. I saw.
Online.
Yeah, Professor
Yeah,
Rajendra
I
was
saw
there.
that.
So, yes, there is a question.
Thank you, sir. As you know, Bhabha returned from England to India at a time when there was an advent of World War II. So, is there any impact on World War II on his decisions regarding making India nuclear country? Or
So, what do you say that at that point of time, nuclear energy was kind of flourishing, or during the World War II, as you know? So, during the World War II, so when Bhabha returned to India, that was the time of World War II.
So he could go back to Europe.
So, but the advent of nuclear physics or nuclear energy at that point of time, so does that also affect his career or his interaction?
India must have. He didn't think about staying in India. That all of these guys do. He wanted to go back. But while working in Bangalore, getting in touch with C.V. Raman inspired him. So there's another point. Leadership and inspiration is very important. Once you meet Dr. Ramana, which I did after coming from King's College, London, and Cambridge, I have no hesitation about that. But if you meet a Ramana মানুষ, আসতে চার আসুন, যদি ইচ্ছা করে এরকম করে হবে না। That's not good. You have to inspire. Why do you want to do that?
So at that point of time, India was not independent. So the funding, what was required for a both set of nuclear energy.
Most of the people used to come on their own money. that I'm not taking credit in this conference that organized. 99% people gave them their own money.
No, what I'm saying that setting up a nuclear energy program that needs a lot of money. So at that point he came back. India was not independent.
I'll tell you something. For Bhabha used to say, I've learned that don't worry about money. Money will come if your idea is good. You can fight it more strongly. You have to fight it. But if your idea is weak, nobody will give.
So he somehow convinced the first Prime Minister of India that this is.
Finally, of course, he is well connected. But he could be well connected because he had a lot of talent.
That's true.
Okay? Anyway,
Okay.
thank you.
If there are no more questions,
Thank you.
thank Professor Sinha for the